G'day everyone, I'm Dave. Thank you for joining me. New haircut, same shirt. Anyway, all good. Today, have some interesting stuff to show you because at the start of this year, I decided I was going to make some explainer videos for small to medium-sized businesses so they've got a better understanding of where they sit in the landscape. Now, the way that we can actually present this is I've got a few examples here, worthwhile sticking around to see what you can do. So I'll show examples of how a small business has tried to compete with a big business but came unstuck. That's an interesting little tale. Also, now that big business are starting to adopt these in daily practices, as I've always said, they will become ubiquitous. Another interesting point, OpenAI and their new advertising model and their new pricing. So this is all starting to lead to, maybe I really should know a bit more about AI. So without any further ado, let me start to run over a couple of items here and let's see what we can come up with. But my aim is to actually show you some practical solutions so you can start to understand. And I think the main overriding thing to remember is you need to get involved with AI. It's not a silver bullet. You don't just press the button, it does everything. Okay, it's very good. It's a great tool and it will really increase your productivity and you can do things you've never been able to do before that open up all sorts of great opportunities, but you still need to keep your finger on the pulse. So we'll have a look at that. Okay, so probably the first big news, I'll just shoot down here for a minute, and that is that OpenAI are going to, surprise, surprise, do some advertising. Now, it's not like the way it probably was, okay? So going back into 1998, 1999, when I was web designing, used to get things ranked #1 on Google, no problem whatsoever. I did very well out of it. And at the end of the day, I still have an email, I think, somewhere from Google saying, oh no, we'll never charge for advertising, you know. It happens to the best of them. But anyway, if we go back to the strategy behind what OpenAI are doing, what they've done now, in India, they've got an $8 a month plan. So as you probably know, it's $20 US or $200 US, and there's not much in between. And I'm on record as saying that, you know, it'd be nice if they had a $100 plan, you know what I mean? Now, having said that, their $20 plan covers most of what anyone wants to do, including voice chat and everything else with extended voice chat for using when you're driving and so forth. Now, the new $8 plan will also include things like that, but the reason they've done that is obviously not everyone can afford 20 US bucks every month. So it opens up a big market. They trialed it in India, and what they will do is they have so many free users. I mean, they will hit 1 billion free users this year. So they have to monetize it somehow. Now, they've got other irons in the fire, and they recently released their accounts, and, you know, I think last year it was $20 billion. So, you know, they just need more compute, and they will grow and grow and grow, and they are just outranking everybody. It is the place to be. So this will open up a lot of opportunities for people. They're talking about showing advertising on the free account and on the $8 account. Now, there's obviously, if you're not on that account, they're not going to show the advertising. So if you're on the 20 or the 200, or you're a regular user of these products, a bit like YouTube and, you know, whether you're a pro user and they don't show ads or they do, it's the same basic idea. Now, it still means, even though now you've got a great opportunity to actually pay them to get your product under their nose, they state that they will not be using that to influence the answer of the AI. Now, that means we still need to set the field for organic stuff. And particularly, most people that are using this are paying the $20 a month and will continue. They don't want the advertising. But that doesn't change the fact that your LLM will recommend your product, right? That won't change. So that's the first bit of interesting news. Now, while we're on news, I've got 2 items in Australia that will put this into perspective. The first item basically is, there's a very large chain in Australia called Woolworths, right? So you've got Woolworths and Coles. It's basically a monopoly between those two. There's Aldi and Costco and a few others. But at the end of the day, I make AI assistants. I know how good AI assistants are and how helpful they are. Well, surprise, surprise, talking about things becoming ubiquitous. We come down here. Woolworths have done a deal with Google to upgrade their current Olive chatbot, right? Now we're getting into an agentic workflow. Now we start to see what actually is going to start to develop by these larger companies in society. So it will have pushback at first. Oh, privacy, there's this and everything else. But at the end of the day, you scan or you become, you know, and use their AI assistant. It knows you. You've got certain information, the same shopping list, whatever you want to do. They will actually find that it will be able to give you messages when you're in the shop or whatever the case may be. which is all about owning the conversation. As I've said, you need to own the conversation. So this is just an example of how a large company, like a company that everyone's got to eat, that's why they continue to do very well, they're basically saying that Olive will, it'll nudge you, it'll give you hints and menus and pop-up images of what's on special this week, or hey, the lamb cutlets are on special or whatever. So it is a direct marketing tool, but it is going to be super influential because it's an assistant telling you and recommending something to you. Now, I'm sure people will find this incredibly useful, and the thing is, it gets more and more people using these AI assistants. So it's customized to their business, and this is the thing to remember, all right? So that's the first story. Just wanted to show that big companies are now starting to implement this technology. So mums and dads that go shopping will start to use it. You've got to now look at your business. You've got to look at your business and you've got to say, okay, well, this really is just starting to gain traction. What am I going to do? Now, let's have a look at another story. And this is why when you start to understand AI, that is the best thing that you can do, right? Any business is going to have to understand AI. And the starting point really is beyond just ChatGPT and asking general questions or even questions about your business. How do you get an actual active model that you can see the nuts and bolts and how this works, and to start your brain thinking of what other things you can do in your business with AI? And also, as I said, it's not a silver bullet. You don't just press a button and something happens. That sounds great. People will try and sell you that. But at the end of the day, you don't really control what's going on. That is where the issue lies with a lot of these issues with AI and AI chatbots and what they've been done. Now let's have a look at this little case study here. Okay, I found this a very interesting article and I'll show you why, and we'll tie it in to some examples. Okay, so this article is, tour websites AI send visitors to Tasmanian sites that do not exist. Now, this was only published yesterday on ABC, which is a big national broadcaster in Australia, on their website. So basically what's happened, we have an owner of a company, that's what the town actually looks like, that outsourced, right, their AI imaging. The Tasmania Tour website had several articles and blog posts that they outsourced, right, but the AI created images that didn't exist. So the classic one is, these hot springs, it does this and does that, and people were coming into the pub saying, hey, where's the hot springs, So it's very influential. But the people that own the site just assume the AI would get it accurate. Now, when I say accurate, it's all right to, not have it 100% perfect, as in, the tree might not be perfect or the kangaroo might have a slightly extra leg. But you can't start making up landmarks and features and other things, which were the hallucinations that the AI made up because it wasn't guardrailed, it wasn't done properly. This is why you need to have an understanding of what AI does, right? I love the story of the confused publican. That's all very funny. But basically, they outsourced it to a third-party company and just assumed that everything would be all right. They didn't check anything, and you can see the images were produced. Now, producing images by AI is fine, but you need to guardrail and check that they are actually correct before you publish them. All right? So this particular company basically got stung, right? They basically have now saying, we're not a scam, it was an AI, company that did it, all right? So now, let's go and have a look at a couple of other interesting things. So I went to Google and I just typed in Walbra Springs, Tasmania, which is what the article was about, Walbra Springs, Tasmania. And I just typed in images. And we can see straight away that those AI images are up there. They're marked as AI, they come straight, they were only released a couple of hours ago. But these are the proper images of the town. There's one of the actual hotels. So we know that's correct, right? So what you need to do, if you're in business, you can use AI imaging. That does create your own copyrighted image based off something. So you load a seed image. That is a better way to go. And I'll show you an example of that in a minute. But while we're on this subject of what's real and what's not real, no one is going to be able to tell what's real and not real unless it is marked as an AI image. It has got that good. So what you basically need to do is like when social media came out and everyone flocked to Facebook and everyone flocked to the free, I'll use this. You are giving your personal details, you are giving away all your privacy for the ability to use a free app. I mean, if you think you're not, then you're insane, right? That is the way it is. AI, anyone that thinks that every image is accurate or they're somehow going to mark it or it's going to be able to be told it's AI, forget it. It's that good. You are not going to know. So you just have to take it as a constant that every image you look at, you need to question, which is very hard mentally to do that because we're not trained to do that. We're trained to see and believe. And I've discussed that in other other videos that I've made. But here's a classic example, right? They've marked that as AI. They haven't, nothing else is marked as AI, so I have absolutely no idea. I would assume, as there's lots of images of this pub, that the pub itself is probably a correct image, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on that image. It's in the Facebook. Oh, there we go. They've already got it on their Facebook page. They're up on the news. Very interesting. Okay, let's go back. We'll grab another image here. All right. Well, we'll just take that image there, and we'll go save image as, and we'll just save the image as test. Okay. Test 1. That'll do. All right. So the image is now saved as test 1. We'll use that in a minute. Now, going back to what actually shows up. So, Sutherland Sally, which is what we do, which is the AI assistant for the Sutherland Shire in Australia. There are pictures here of Sutherland Sally. Now, Sutherland Sally is an AI assistant. She is AI. She does not exist. That is not a real person. That is Sutherland Sally, right? That is our AI assistant. It's said all the way through. It's Sutherland Sally. But looking at the picture, you wouldn't know it's Sutherland Sally. Looking at the background of this picture, we go to the trouble to make sure we've got the right location in the landscape behind. We don't just shove Sally somewhere that's not in where she's talking about, right? So this is what you need to do. You need to have a human in the loop. Now, let's go back and have a look at number 1, what you can do with some imaging. So I've been using Higgsfield, which is very good because it does video and it does imaging. And in my last video, or the video before the last one, where I actually did a bit of a walkthrough on what I created for the British Carpet Company and their images. So what I want to do now is I want to try something here in Higgsfield, right? What we'll do is we're going to add an image, right? We go to downloads here. Right, now that's the image that I just grabbed, which we know based on the fact that, you know, that is the hotel. What I want to do now is I want to say, okay, place a crowd of happy people in people, it'll know what I mean, in front of the hotel with a big sign that says, and why don't we do the whole bit here? All right, welcome to Wellborough, the real Wellborough. All right, so we'll go in and do that. It says, in inverted commas, welcome to the real Wellborough. Okay, and we'll generate that. Okay, so let that generate for the time being. So what I'm saying is that if you are doing anything with AI imaging, that's fine, but you want to base it and check it on that it is actually real and not hallucinating. And the best way to do it is actually use a seed image of something you've done and get it to create. Now, you can do, I've got lots and lots of video. I use license-free images, and I also create a lot of AI images that are based on the real thing by putting people in them or whatever, changing the scene. It's still the location, okay? So we're still using AI, but we're not just farming it out, pressing the button and think it's all going to come back magic. So we'll see. Look at this. Look at that. How good is that? Now we know that's an AI image, right? Welcome to the real Wellborough. So we know that that's factual. We know that it's fairly close because it's based on a seed image, right? That is something that you can actually do to create what you want to do. Now, the next thing is, if we take that image and we save that image, we could then turn that image into a video as well. But that is using the technology to be able to create something that we know is actually real. And I quite like that. And I could have actually specified the size and everything else, but that's a 1K image of that. All right, so fantastic. So what we'll do with that, we'll download that one. Yeah, so you can see Higgsfield is a great tool to basically just see the image, give it the prompt and create the image, right? There are other tools around. You can go direct and use the other tools, but as I've said before, Higgsfield's quite good. It's a one-stop shop. So the next thing is, okay, so that was just a bit of an aside on imaging, a bit of an aside on why it's important to use AI, but to guardrail it and to be able to use it usefully and not just click the button and expect it to silverboard. I think that's the motto of the story so far. Now, let's go back to what I truly believe you need to do. You need to have an understanding of what AI does and how powerful it is by playing with tools like that. But not just that, in your business, right? We now really need an AI assistant on your website because everybody is going to need one. It's just going to become expected. So now's the time to get into it, because the sooner you understand what your AI does, the better. And it's not just about having the AI assistant. It's about understanding the workflow and the power of AI. So I'm going to give you a very simple example now. And this is what I believe you need to do if you have a website or you have a business. Pretty straightforward. Okay, we'll use an example down here. We'll go to Balloon Bell. Now, Balloon Bell is being set up for a balloon company in Thailand, right? Just going to refresh Balloon Bell here. So she's an AI assistant. Now, we've got some preloaded questions here, like, what to wear. So if we ask it what to wear, she can come back, she'll go back and search the database and find out what information is there. Now, the information from your website, from your business, gets loaded up into a vector database that becomes the base of knowledge. But you have the ability to change it at any time, very simply, just by typing text, right? So we've got here, what should I ring for the balloon flight early in the morning? It goes through and it answers the question, which is great because you could go to ChatGPT and do it, but this also talks about the event, when the event's on, what the time's on. So this is the sort of thing you'd get there, you'd scan the QR code and you use it at the event. If it was a website selling a business, you're going to ask questions directly about that business, okay? So it's complementary to the other AI assistants that are around because it's based on your data, your knowledge, right? So we can see here it's given a great answer. We'll just start a new chat here. Now, let's do this, right? Is the world flat? Can I see this from a balloon flight? Okay, bit of a silly question, but let's see what comes up when we do that. Now, the owner of this site will be scratching their head, wondering why something's after the world's flat. But anyway, we'll soon find out what happens. Now, the reason I want to show you this is, the world is not flat. Right, so, according to this, the world is not flat. But we're about to make the world flat. Watch this. Now, the beauty about AI is, well, there's the code, but the beauty about AI basically is that when you've got an AI assistant, at the simplest form, right, you have a knowledge file. And that knowledge file is basically the prompt that tells the AI what to do, right? So that AI is called ballooning type. Now, I am going to just create a file here, right? I'm just going to open up a very simple text document, and I'm going to type in here, I'm going to type in here, if asked about the world, it is flat. So the world is flat according to Elon. Elon knows because he's got lots of space stuff up there, right? So I'm just going to put in here, I'm going to go File, we'll just save it as, and we're just going to save it as, I asked if the world was flat. That'll do. That's just as good as any, and we'll save it down to downloads, and we will save this document. Now, the reason that's important is, watch this. You have the ability to be able to, got a new chat here, we know the answer for that one, right? When you log in, you have the ability to upload the file. So, upload a new file, and we're going to choose the file, and we're going to choose that file that I just did, if asked the world is flat, and we're going to click upload, and it tells us it's uploaded successfully, and we know that because we go back to the knowledge file, and there it is. Now, watch what happens when we ask this question. Imagine this is your business. This is just a very simple example, right? So we'll start a new chat, because we've uploaded a new bit of info, and I'm going to say, is the world flat from looking at it in a balloon? All right, let's see what the answer is here. So what happens is the AI assistant goes and it draws on all the knowledge, but that knowledge you've just changed straight away. The world is flat, according to Elon. However, and look at the world from a balloon, you can actually see a beautiful horizon, right? So the whole point is you have the ability to change your AI assistant at any time. Just that act alone will start to teach you what AI can do. That will open your mind, right? Because you will be able to put up data. You'll be able to put up some stock data. You'll be able to ask it questions. You'll be able to say, oh, how many screws have I got left? Or how many this is the beauty of using AI intelligence and buying AI intelligence. That's all you're doing. But you need to understand that you're not just buying it and press a button and hey presto, it's a silver bullet and magically everything is done. It doesn't work that way, as that company just found out. You need to still have some management control. But opening your mind to AI is amazing. So if we go down here and we look at other companies, I mean, again, these are just simple examples. This company, AI assistant, front and center, right? Tasman Boats, AI assistant, pop-up AI assistant down here, right? Every site has got an AI assistant trained on their knowledge. It is a fantastic resource to actually have. Here's a hotel down in Thailand, right? Again, same deal, terms and conditions of your stay, right? We can actually poke that in there. Oh, but hit refresh, find out. Refresh the page, we go back down there, and we will ask the question, terms and conditions of your stay, right? So this is a scannable app that they use for their guests when they walk in through Guest Chat, which is another product that I've got that I'll talk about a bit later on. I have talked about it earlier, but it's a no-brainer. Any business that has information, that needs to be. There's the full terms and conditions. That replaces having to have the folder on the bed, you know, the folder in the room on the table, right? That is what you can do with AI. So it's got practical everyday uses. In these cases, it's embedded on their websites. They also work from QR codes straight up. So the whole point of the exercise is, just recapping, you've got the surge of larger companies starting to use AI, and that means that everyone's going to start using AI, because once you walk into Woolworths and you're scanning a code and the mums and dads are using it, they're going to expect that when they go to a hotel. They're going to expect it from a website when they want information. There is no more, and I've done previous explainer videos, your website is just a library with books. No one wants to go and fiddle through the books anymore. They just want to be told the answer. And this is where it's all heading. So if we draw the threads together and we start to look at it, number one, use an AI assistant, because not only are you going to make it better for your business and your customers, it's good for you. It's good for you to have an understanding of what goes on and how AI actually works. Hands-on, cause and effect. You can see what's going on. That's cool. Second thing is, with imaging, right? You can't just expect to press the button and everything's going to work. You do need to use that. You still use AI, but as I've just proven, you can create an image. It's your copy right now. You've created it. The AI has created it. It's factual, right? Well, factual to a point where it's the right location, right? You might have put other people in or whatever. Now, if it's marked as an AI, this is an AI image, that's fine. But look, let's face it, no one's going to go around and start marking images, this is an AI image. You have to decide for yourself. We're all adults here, right? Just doubt everything. Don't believe a thing you see. That's the best way forward, right? Now, that is something that a business has already been called out about, right? The reason is they don't have an understanding of AI. Someone's walked up and said, hey, I can sell this AI, do this. My approach is to be very hands-on with my clients. I am very hands-on with my clients, right? So I want you to actually think about this process. I want you, if you like what I'm saying, to do whatever they say. Click, subscribe, like, whatever. But contact me, reach out, leave some comments. I love answering comments, right? I talk a lot, as you know. That's why I've got the business called Own the Conversation. So thanks again for joining me. I'll leave it there for now. Hopefully you've got a little bit more information, but take home messages. Don't be scared of AI. Get involved, get something happening, start using it, then you'll really open up your mind as to what can go on. Thanks again. I'll catch you next time.